excited as always to welcome back Marcus Sheridan to our program. And Marcus, I want to talk to you today about something that feels outside of what we normally talk about. And I don't know if everyone in our audience even knows this about you, but you have a saltwater fishing business. So can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I love fishing. And so I said, how can I turn this passion into a business? Because I just enjoy starting companies and building things. And I've always wanted to build a big community on YouTube as well. So I started basically around October, November of 2021. So this, I look at this November as the two-year mark, and it's mainly offshore fishing out of North Carolina, and I've got a charter boat down there, and so it's a pretty fun adventure.
So I love that, Marcus, and I'm interested in you have a wide range of expertise, but this feels like it's not adjacent to your core expertise of sales and marketing. So what was it like building a business that felt different from the work you do with Impact, the work you do as a speaker, the work you do or did with the sales line, et cetera?
Well, it's interesting on the marketing side. There's actually in the brand building side, there's a very big difference because YouTube is evolving. I mean, it's evolving really, really fast. And the biggest way that it's evolving is it used to be that YouTube was just long form videos, and then TikTok came out, and TikTok sent a message, just like this massive ripple effect throughout the entire world of video, that basically said people want to watch faster videos on their phone, vertical style, and that's when suddenly you started to see other platforms embrace this vertical short style video, right? And so with Saltwater Fishing University, I went in thinking, okay, I'm going to just show our adventures. I'm going to try to teach people, but it was really, really slow. It was super slow because I wasn't able to just tap into that YouTube algorithm, and it's not the Google algorithm. It's YouTube's. And even though it's owned by Google, it's nothing like Google's algorithm in so many ways. And so we had to figure out how do we get momentum? How do we get traction? And so earlier in 2023 is when I embraced my first short. And as soon as I started to embrace shorts, I said, oh, wow. So this is what the platform wants. This is what the platform wants us to do. This is our ticket because for whatever reason, we can't really make a lot of headway with long form video, even though our videos are very strong. It's going to take more time there. And so the way we're going to build our audience the fastest, the way we're going to get more subscribers is we're going to have to go vertical. And so we went vertical, and suddenly, boom, I mean, things started to take off. And of course, since I had a goal for by the end of the second year, I wanted to have 15,000 subscribers by the end of our second year. And we'll finish with over 50,000 subscribers by the end of the second year, which is which is around November 1st of 2023. And it's all because we shifted and we adjusted to what the market was telling us, what the platform was telling us. And I think that's the big key. If you're going to have a successful business, you got to be willing to really pay attention to what the platform is telling you and to what the market is telling you, and then adjust accordingly. That's what we did, and now we're starting to see the fruit.
That's fantastic. So just to reiterate, you were going for 15,000 and you'll end with 50,000
yes.
In 2 years. That's amazing. And so just a couple things to kind of underscore some of that. And I think that's really important. As you said, YouTube is a hugely trafficked site. It is the second most visited website in the world after Google. But also, YouTube defies categorization because it is a search engine. It is a social media site. It is a discovery platform, but also a repository for tons of content. And statistically, it's important to note that 70% of YouTube traffic is mobile. So people are watching videos on their phone, and the vertical format, the short form video, it makes sense. It's optimized for the platform. It suits the visitors and it suits the platform. So that marriage is something you have to pay attention to.
Yeah, and I think too the other component to this we have to recognize is Gen Z. YouTube is their go-to source. Most will go to YouTube before they go to Google. I mean, that's how, like, if you have teenagers, you know that their primary search engine is absolutely YouTube. No question about it. Other than using social for some things, it's YouTube. And so when you see that, they're going to carry those habits with them as they get older. And so this just gives further credence, John, to what we've been saying for so long, which is video continues to take over the world. It certainly has got to be a fundamental part of the way you do your sales and marketing within your company, the way you build your brand. And if you're not working on video right now, your brand is going to suffer. You might say, I don't think it's going to suffer. It's going to suffer. It has to, you've got to get to the point where not only are you fluent, let's say, with just video within your organization, you can produce it quickly, you can produce it on multiple platforms, and you can meet the buyer where they are. And that's ultimately what we have to do as businesses. If we're going to be successful, we can't sit there and say, but I don't want to do it that way, and I don't like it that way, and I don't like shorts, and I don't ever watch vertical videos, or whatever the thing is that you're saying. Like, our opinions don't matter. The only thing that matters is, what is the marketplace telling us? Where are they to be found? Are we meeting them where they are?
I think what underscoring this conversation also is the fact that many businesses approach video as this sort of art form thing they do every now and then. They invest heavily in it, and what the platforms are telling us and what the metrics are telling us is more video, easier to produce, quicker to produce. So video doesn't have to be a 15-minute video for your website. It can be 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and consistency is super important. Getting stuff out there, building an audience, getting found, etc. So I would love for Marcus, if you could, to dive into some of those particulars. So as you produce, or as you approach a given period of time, of the course of a week or the course of a month, what does your video production look like for Saltwater Fishing University? How do you divide your efforts? How do you kind of plan things out? Any of that kind of insight is really, really valuable.
So the essence of great video for any company, regardless of what they do, and this doesn't change. It hasn't changed for me whether I'm doing videos as Marcus the speaker versus Marcus's offshore fishing company, versus River Pools, my swimming pool company. It's all the same thing, which is stacking. If you want to be great with video, you have to choose particular days of the month, and you say, okay, on that day or within that block, we're going to shoot a multiplicity of videos. And if you do it the right way, you absolutely can. And so to give you an example, with my fishing channel, how it works is I've got a videographer. Now that videographer is there primarily on when we go out for a trip. His core purpose is to shoot long form video. So he's going to make 1 or 2 long form stories from a trip. That's what he's going to do. Now, my job, though, is to do shorts while we're there. And all I have is my phone, and I'm paying attention to everything, and I'm looking at everything differently than if I was doing it in a long-form style. Because when you're looking at vertical video, you're saying to yourself, how could what is common to me, having seen it many times, be incredibly uncommon to the world? How could I take what is an average act, like a normal, doesn't seem very spectacular, and maybe add some music to it or add some creativity to it, and now all of a sudden it becomes very, very cool, something that people want to watch, something that's very, very enjoyable, right? And so this is just the way that you have to think of short versus long form, especially if you're trying to be creative. Now, if you're an organization where you're just doing basic talking head videos, which I have done many of those in the vertical format, there's less creativity per se in terms of the scene and the way you might show the story, and you may just have a little bit of fancy editing with text overlays and whatnot to add some life to the video. But when you're doing a short, I mean, what we're talking about here is I should be able to, on one trip, I should be able to get 6, 7, 8 short videos in a day, maybe more if I'm really on my game and if we have action. Because the one problem with a fishing channel is if you don't catch fish, it's somewhat hard to produce videos. Now, it's not the end all because there's still other things that you can do to be creative. But that being said, this is key. You got to be looking for it, and you've got to be in the mindset. I've tried on occasion to produce long and shorts with one person on a trip, and it doesn't work very well because it's quite the mindset thing. You got to be in a short mindset, or you got to be in a long form video mindset. Trying to do both generally doesn't produce the best results.
So if you're publishing, you get all these videos from coming back from a trip. What's your ratio of short form to long form that you're ultimately putting up on YouTube?
So I am trying to get to the point where we're at least 3 to 1. So I'd like to do 3 shorts for every long form video. And there's a lot of other just, when you start to get into vertical video, short form video, you start to see patterns. Now, let me give you an example of some patterns that I've seen, because people are like, well, what will make a video go viral? Well, I mean, there's a few components that we definitively have seen. One of our biggest mottos is make them click and make them stick. So you got to make them click on the video. You have to have a title that creates a curiosity gap. People are like, man, I just got to find out how that ends, right? What's the payoff here? So you have to do that. Now make them stick. Once they start watching, how do you get them to stay? Because the greater retention, the greater that YouTube is going to potentially say, this is good, and I'm going to show it. Because when it comes to shorts, although they show up in search results, it's all about that shorts feed. And if you are showing in the shorts feed and they're giving you some love, you can experience stunning numbers in a very short period of time. It took me something like 15 months to get my first 4,000 subscribers on the channel. I had one short go viral, and I got over 4,000 subscribers in one day. This is what's possible with the power of shorts. 5% of the cost of the channel, the time, the effort, the energy has gone into long form video. Over 95% of the subscribers have come from short form video, right? It's pretty interesting. Now, what we have seen is if you can produce a video that's over 25 to 30 seconds, higher than that potentially, and you have a retention rate that is greater than 80%, in other words, that means the average person views at least 80% of the video. Now what we're talking is there's a good chance that this could potentially go viral. Make them click, make them stick. Now, one other thing about make them stick is you want to change the scene enough, and we simply call that the 3-second rule. So every 3 seconds, you want a change of scenery. You want a different view, a different moment, a different angle, whatever that thing is. And that's just creating this constantly changing effect of the video. It's interesting, some of these kids cartoons now are following this 3-second rule. Now the problem is it really messes with the mind, right? This is what all these platforms do, because it's like this rush of it's a sensory experience, and it's like dopamine happening all at one time, but it's the same thing. Now, there is a controversial third one that I'm going to share with you, John, for this make 'em click, make 'em stick. And I say controversial because it could be misinterpreted, but it's the only word that I could find that rhymes well, and so we're going to use it, which is make 'em click, make 'em stick, and make 'em sick. Now, what I mean by sick? What I mean by sick is that it produces an emotion within the viewer that they feel like they have to say something or do something. They either have to share it or they have to comment on it. And which, by the way, the comment could be good or it could be negative. One of the videos that I got that had 23 million views on my channel, 90% of the comments was about, hey, you killed this fish, right? And so those people got frustrated. But every time they're adding a comment, well, what they're doing is they're sending a message to the algorithm. And of course, there's tons of other people that are like, that's called phishing. Whatever. Okay, we're not here to debate the politics of phishing. There is a pattern with the way the psychology of the human mind works when it comes to video, short form video. So make them click, make them stick, and then make them feel something, make them sick. And if you do that, you're going to find that your videos pop.
It's a reaction. It's a reaction. And that's important. Fantastic, Mark. It's really interesting stuff. So talk to me about, do you have a clear CTA strategy at the end of these? Is it just like and subscribe? Is it?
Now here's the thing.
Do you push them towards your website, towards anything else? Or is it just about getting more views?
You can't waste time, generally speaking, with these types of calls to action unless you're super slick. So let me give you an example of a mistake. A mistake would be if I showed this short form video, this vertical video, let's say on YouTube, and at the end, I had a little screen that said, make sure you watch the full video on our YouTube channel by itself, or make sure you subscribe. And the reason for that is because the second the scenes are over, they're clicking away. They're swiping away. And what that means is by putting in a call to action, you will hurt your retention rates. So you have to, if you're going to have them in there, you got to have them mixed into the actual scenery, because otherwise you're going to find that the videos do not perform well.
Yeah, great point. Something that I've been seeing a lot in short form videos recently, especially on YouTube Shorts, is the video actually starts 3 seconds in or something, because these videos loop, and sometimes you don't see the beginning of the video until you get to the end of the video, and it loops back into the video again. So it's interesting seeing people play with different formats. Yes. Some go to autoplay, some loop, depending on the platform, depending on where they are.
Which is why, John, you can have a lot of retention rates that are above 100%. All right, so we have a lot of videos that have done 110, 120%, simply because the person's either watching it again or they didn't know that the video was over and it's looping through. So that's an interesting technique that you can do. And once again, that's what YouTube wants. I will say this about shorts: they stink in terms of making money. Right? People say, how much money do you make on a viral YouTube short? Right now, you don't make very much. And so if you take the video that my most viral one, which was again about 23 million views, all in, I think that made us about $400. Okay, now if you take a longer form video, let's say it's 5 minutes, and you got 23 million views off of that. I mean, you're making thousands and thousands most likely off of that. I mean, you're making thousands of dollars easily, right? And so there is quite a big difference there. Now, one of the questions that people want to know about shorts is, okay, if they're a short viewer, will they naturally carry over and become a long form viewer as well? The answer, I hate to tell you, is probably not. And so they don't have this strong carryover. This is what we've seen. Typically, a short viewer is a short viewer. A long form is a long form. But the long form viewers will tend to watch your shorts. You will have a small amount of carryover. Now, the other thing about shorts, which makes shorts so special, other than the fact that it does show up in search engine results, is if you go viral with a short, it raises all boats. In other words, all your shorts start to go nuts. And the reason is because many of those viewers will swipe to continue to see your other shorts that you've created. And so now you're getting a huge pump with all your previous videos. And so you go from someone that might have averaged 1,000 views per video to now all of a sudden you're at 10,000 views per video, because they all benefited from this short that went viral. And I think this is, I think now is the time to learn to create this type of art as a company. It's a fun style of storytelling because you have to be quick, you have to be fast, right? You got to figure out how do we tell this story quickly but differently than everybody else. And that's really the ones that pop off. The ones that just are doing it different than everyone else, but there's so much opportunity there. I wish I had started vertical video much sooner. And it's a mistake that I made. I made it with TikTok. I was just completely like, I don't want to do TikTok because, the Chinese are spying on us. And in hindsight, that was an example of allowing my opinions, my personal opinions, to screw up smart business decisions. Because now, if I want to be great on TikTok, it's gonna take much more effort and energy, and I missed that first mover advantage.
This all feels like a good reminder too, Marcus, of just how many touch points it takes for someone to enter your audience and to become a part of that audience. I think about the way that I use YouTube. I am going to watch a ton of shorts from a channel, from a creator. Before I even like one, I'll just watch them and then I'll like one. Maybe I'll like more than one. Then I might eventually get into long form content, maybe become a subscriber. But it is a numbers game and it is a game of patience. And I think we tend to sometimes want to shrink down that process and think that it's going to happen really quick. Oh, I made this great video. It got all these views. Why aren't these people becoming subscribers? It's just like anything else. Trust happens slowly. You get to know something slowly. And I think we have to be comfortable with the fact that there are a lot of touch points, dozens, maybe hundreds of touch points before someone becomes a subscriber. And then maybe before someone becomes a buyer. I mean, that's way down the line. And we have to be comfortable with the fact that this process happens slowly and happens incrementally for the people who are going to encounter these videos.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think one of the mistakes that I made in the past, Becker, was I was like, what's the purpose of virality? I don't get it. It's like, big deal. You have one pump and then nada. Well, I've changed my mindset on that because brand matters more than ever, especially with AI. And so anything we can do to introduce our brand to the marketplace, I think is a positive thing. You don't know who's going to stick. And, sure, I had a viral video, and sure, okay, let's say 23 million people watched it, and the very high majority of the people didn't subscribe. But guess what? 35,000 did. 35,000. Now, it takes a little bit of time to get 35,000 subscribers on YouTube. And for me to experience that over the course of a couple weeks, it completely shifted my entire mindset on what was possible. And so now I'm seeing what's possible, and I'm like, okay, I can do this even better. I can focus on this differently. I can apply this to my other organizations. It's still early in this game of vertical video, certainly with YouTube. So that's why, I know with anybody that's applying They Ask You Answer, anybody that's going to listen to me, I'm pushing it pretty dang hard.
Love it. So, Marcus, just to wrap up, I'll give you a final word to speak to businesses of all kinds. And fishing is outdoors. It's exciting. There's energy to it. What are the takeaways for all businesses, especially those who might not be showing something or able to show something that feels as immediately engaging as saltwater fishing?
For years, people would tell me, I can't believe that you were able to do this amazing thing called They Ask You Answer with a pool company. Because pools, they seem, they don't seem very sexy. They seem kind of boring. And I was always thinking to myself, I think pools are super exciting. Who would want to know about a pool? And so you've heard the phrase, one person's trash is another person's treasure. And it's all interpretive. You have to overcome this curse of knowledge, though. The biggest key is overcoming the biases that you've built in because of familiarity with the product, with the service, with the business that you're a part of. If you can let go of those familiarities, if you can see the world from an ignorant perspective, and I say that in a positive way, you really are looking at it, at what you do, what you sell, in such a way of, I might know this. I might see this every day, but the world hasn't seen this every day. And the world can see the thing that I do or that we do here as art. And now all of a sudden it takes off because it gives them a different perspective on something that's happening in the world. And so your business isn't boring, regardless of what you sell. You just have to find ways to show that thing to the world so that they'll say, huh, isn't that cool? Isn't that neat? Isn't that different? I had no idea. And if you can do that, you're going to start to get traction.
Great advice. Reminder for everyone listening, Marcus Sheridan, you could follow him on LinkedIn, where he posts pretty much daily about marketing and sales and leadership. But you can also reach out to us at Impact if you are interested in building a culture of video at your business to reach an audience on a variety of platforms. Marcus, thank you for your insights today.
My pleasure.